So I'm calling this a lecture on the good life. And now, philosophically, there's been a lot of thinking about what a good life means. You can answer it in a lot of different ways in philosophy. You can talk about what makes life meaningful, which I will talk about. You can talk about what we should aim for in life. I'll say that. We can talk about what's important in life. So there's all these different ways to approach the question of what the good life is. Now, I'm going to do this in a weird kind of way. I'm going to talk a little bit about the philosophical theories. I'll kind of ramble on about meaning and hedonism and things like that. And then I'm going to switch to a soapbox issue for me, what I call happiness and simplicity. And this is going to be less sophisticated than the philosophical stuff. So allow me a little bit of soapboxiness here and a little less academic or scholarly input on it. I'm not going to give you a comprehensive overview of the philosophical issues. I'm going to focus on some competing notions of the good life, hedonism, and virtue. But first I'm going to talk about a meaningful life. So let me jump right into that. Philosophers have wondered if life has any meaning at all. In fact, one philosopher, Albert Camus, said the only important philosophical question to ask is why not kill yourself right now? Crazy, huh? His idea was that we live in this vast, cold, godless universe with no meaning or purpose, so why don't we just die? Why don't we just kill ourselves? He felt like he had a solution, which I'll mention in passing. That was one question of, if we're just bags of biology that do things to each other, we exist for a little moment in a vast universe and our lives are insignificant, so why not just die? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So if you've ever read the book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, really good book, really bad movie, there's this one thing called the total experience vortex. And what it does, it's the worst torture device in the galaxy. And it shows you your place in the universe and how infinitesimally, unbelievably small you are in the grand scheme of things. And it's supposed to melt your brain, except if you're a Beeblebot or Zaphi Beeblebox. But anyway, so I'm going to do a little really short rendition of the experience machine in my way of thinking. You are one of approximately 7 billion people on the planet. Now that word billion gets thrown around a lot, so it loses its effect on people. Say that you set a machine to count one number per second, and you set it up to go 24 hours a day. Every second it's counting. How long do you think it would take to get to 7 billion? And I ask this to my class all the time, and they guess, 10 years or something like that. It's actually over 220 years if it were counting one person per second. This machine would, and you would be 1 second of that over 220 years where it said one, and that's it. And then it goes on to the next, right? So relative to the number of people on the planet, each of our lives are really kind of insignificant. We're one of 7 billion. And you might say, well, at least I'm one of this humanity. There's 7 billion of us. Well, we could actually all get together, stand shoulder to shoulder in the size of a place like Manhattan. All 7 billion people on the planet could stand shoulder to shoulder in a small area. And we could all jump at the same time. And if we did, we would move the earth just millimeters, not even millimeters, a fraction of millimeters, and it would move right back under its own weight. And so we're really small. And you think, well, at least we live on a big earth, but we don't live on a big earth, right? Relative to the size of other things in our universe, it's pretty small in our galaxy. And so through 2.5 to 3 of our Earths could fit inside that eye of the storm on Jupiter that's been going on for over 400 years. So we have a tiny little Earth. 1.3 million, or actually 1.3 million Earths could fit inside the sun. That's crazy. But the sun is tiny compared to other stars in our galaxy. It actually is in an insignificant spot in our galaxy. About 1.3 million of our suns could fit inside some of the larger stars like Betelgeuse and Antares. It could fit inside some of the larger stars in our galaxy. So it's very tiny. Even our galaxy is tiny. There's about 200 to 400 billion stars in our galaxy. And there are about 100 billion galaxies in the universe, and our Milky Way is small compared to others. In fact, probably around 1 million of our galaxies could fit inside some of the larger galaxies that exist in the universe. There's something around 306 trillion stars in the universe, and so we are tiny, 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 tiny. But not only are we tiny in proportion to the rest of the universe, we are tiny in proportion of the time span of our lives. A long life on Earth is about 80 years. The universe has existed for somewhere between 13 to 15 billion years. So we have, that's 187,500,000 long human lives is how long the Earth has, or how long the universe has been around. And so we're just in the middle of that, right? We're less than a second. We don't last for any amount of time. And the future of our Earth, of our universe, is a dark future, right? So at some point our sun will supernova. Will expand. It won't be able to hold all of its heat and atoms together. It'll expand so far that it burns up all of our oceans and atmosphere and all this kind of stuff. Still a few million years away, but it will happen at some point where it expands and extinguishes all life. Then our sun will go dark and all the stars around it will go dark, and the whole universe at some point will go dark. And just think about every single human event. I mean, the greatest people, the greatest humans that ever have lived on Earth in the span of millions of years, when the sun supernovas and all that kind of stuff, will be insignificant. People like Martin Luther King Jr., who are vastly significant in our world, Abraham Lincoln, all of these people that we look to as heroes will be nothing in the grand scheme of things of the entire universe. Over millions of years, all of the accomplishments will be forgotten. Humans will transition to transhumans. The sun will supernova. All of those things will be forgotten. And so some people say, like in the total experience vortex, that our lives don't matter, that there is no meaning or value in life because there's nothing, because we're so short and so tiny and so small that we're insignificant and there's no meaning in life. There are two ways that people have decided to try to find meaning. There are what we'll call theistic ways, trying to find meaning from God. And then there will what we'll call naturalistic ways, and I'll talk about each one of them in the next video.